Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, friends and neighbors. It's 9 o'clock, we're going to get started. Adult Forum Hour. I'm Dan Johnson. I'm on the Adult Education subgroup or committee that works on trying to figure out what we're going to do on Sunday mornings. And we had a meeting this week. Kit Bowerman is the chair, but he's in Arizona, so he asked me to come in and introduce the speakers and topics of the day. So I will do that. I'm also Vice President of Council, and I will tell you that the purpose today is to have two committees and one subgroup talk about what they do. Talk about their needs as a committee for support, volunteerism, whatever their needs are. And I will also tell you that Kit reminds us that, in past years, for some period of time, we would have a Sunday every year where there would be tables set up around the perimeter of this room, and all the committees would set up those tables to represent the work they do, and they would man the tables, and the congregation could come through and ask questions, and I don't remember if the name of it was a stewardship fair, recruit members, and I don't know if it was called a stewardship fair, but that's what I'm going to remember at the moment here. And so kind of in that vein, what we've done is looked at how on the calendar this year, at different times, we'll invite different committees in to share what they do, what their needs are, and it's kind of in lieu of or a different approach to what was the old stewardship fair. But the focus is on sharing and encouraging engagement, talking about specific needs that groups might have for support, and so that's the context here. It kind of coincidentally, the council this year decided that, we really need to, on purpose, reach out, be better connected to our committees, to the work they're doing. And so in my role as Vice President, that was my job, is to connect with all of them, and we'll continue to do that. We're going to make it a practice and just plug in and make sure that leadership at the council level and our committees are all talking. And what came out of those discussions was, among other things, that the needs of committees are kind of all over the map in terms of how they're supported. Some are highly functioning with lots of subject matter expertise, good membership of the committee. Others are struggling to even function, and then there's everything in between. But there was not a committee who didn't have some kind of a need, even if they were well supported by their committee membership. And you'll probably hear about one of those kind of nuanced needs from John talking about building and property today. So this is an opportunity. The context of this discussion is to share what these groups do, talk about opportunities for engagement, and hopefully you'll learn a little bit about the impact of some of the great work in ministry being done by all these folks. So with that, I'm going to introduce Sharon Gurtel, Chair of Worship and Liturgical Arts Committee. Here you go. Your turn to super share, Sharon.
So Dan told you my name, so I don't need to do that. He also told me my role. So the Worship and Liturgical Arts Committee is extremely involved in everything and anything that happens with the worship service and in the worship space. That's sort of our domain. And so we have on our committee Pastor and Will as ex officio members. We have several other members. I wrote them down so I wouldn't forget anybody. Jan Benson is on our committee, Misty Weber, David Mills has just joined us, Vanessa Wilkie, and Tom Getzinger is our council liaison. So that's our committee. We meet every other month during the program year. So from September to May, we meet September, November, January, etc. Then we take the summer off, and then we're back meeting this month, actually. So what do we actually do? Well, the Constitution spells it out pretty clearly, but it's basically supporting everything that happens and doing the planning for worship. And it doesn't happen by magic. It takes a lot of work to do that. And so we have conversations about what the themes for the next month or two or whatever is what they are, what pastor's planning to preach on. We hear from Will about plans for music, extra music, concert series, that kind of stuff. We talk about things that come to us from other people, ideas, or what about this? Have you thought about that? And make decisions about that. We also provide guidance for things that come up from time to time about worship and the worship space. So we also work very closely with building and property at times, right, John? And we also work with discipleship or Christian education quite a bit on things around worship and the space. We have things under our umbrella that we coordinate. One of them is ushers, another is scripture readers. We have also the handbell choir, the chancel choir, who are officially under Will, but Will is always needing input for things from our committee. And we have the Altar Guild is a subgroup of ours, and Joanne's going to talk about that later, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, Joanne. Oh, I forgot, Philip from Altar Guild attends our meetings as well, so we always are up to date on what Altar Guild is doing and needs. So we have a lot of stuff going on all the time. We have the soundboard is under our kind of oversight, and so we have needs. When Dan says we have needs, if any of you or know of anyone who would like to usher or be a reader or run the soundboard, those are all places that you can become engaged with the work that we do. We also have, in consultation with the pastor and Will, we also advise on guidelines for use of music room and the sanctuary. And we fill in a lot of needs around maintenance of the things that we have under our auspices. So the acolytes are also under our umbrella, so if they have needs, they reach out to us first, and we try to either steer them in the right direction or help them as we can with their particular needs. And Dick Szabo kind of ushers that group, so he's in contact with us about them mostly. So it's a eclectic group. There's lots of different pieces to it, but we have really skilled people who have various contacts in the congregation, and so there's a lot of listening going on when they're here or when they're talking to their friends at church. We can get a lot of input from members via their association with various members that maybe some of us don't have the same kind of connections, but I know Jan has a lot, Misty has a lot, so we have a lot of connections in the community, in the church community. So that's about all that I have to say about that. I have busy Sunday mornings, so I don't have a lot of time for questions, but if you have a couple, I can probably take a minute or two to address those.
I was going to say, you definitely have a big umbrella.
Mm-hmm. We do. Yes, sure.
Do you have any sketches or pictures of what the new pulpit is going to look like?
So we are putting together, the committee is putting together an easel presentation. I'm really not prepared to talk about that today, but we're working on getting up an easel presentation for the narthex about the whole project, and it will be a work in progress, right? So we're going to share work as we have information to share.
So there's no sketch showing what it's going to look like at the end?
No, there's a prototype, but it will not look exactly like the prototype because it's different wood. We've incorporated some metal. There's all kinds of different things. So it will be coming soon. The artist is sending me photos as he works on it, so I will share those with the congregation as I get them, but I don't have one to share today. Anything else?
Questions? Okay. Thank you, Sharon. Okay, Joanne Eckla is going to talk about Altar Guild, a subgroup to WLA. Is that correct? Is that a way of profiling
Well,
it?
kind of.
Only kind of. Only kind of. All right.
Since they're involved with worship, they attend our meetings and help us with other things, but they're really their own group and make their own decisions. So.
Okay, yeah. Another own group under the big umbrella that John pointed out. Great. Joanne, here you go. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Joanne Eckloff, a member of the Altar Guild. And what we do is set the Lord's table. And I'm here to encourage you to, if you feel inclined to offer to help set the Lord's table. It's an honor and a privilege. And you might remember over the summer there was a Sunday when there was no communion. It was because of our few members, no one was available. If you want communion every Sunday, we need more help. I know most committees need more help, but it's something that we all have to think about.
Joanne?
Yes.
So how many people doing these functions do you have now? How many do you need?
In the past, when I joined Altar Guild, I think there were about 20 members. And we served about once a quarter. And now, I don't have the exact number. We have 2 families, and we have maybe 5 other people. And we try to serve with 2 people at a time, so you're not doing it alone, especially if you're new. We train you and also have an experienced, not an older member, as an experienced member serve with you. And I think the most effective way to get new members is a personal invitation. That's how I came aboard. And so this is my personal invitation to you to think about. Yes, yes?
Where is it actually entitled?
Yeah. I'm sorry?
What is it actually entitled?
It's about 30 minutes on Saturday to set the table, to fill the cups, to set everything out. And about 30 minutes on Sunday after church to clean up. It's pretty easy. And in the sacristy there are detailed directions posted. You just follow the directions. And as I said, if you're new, you will be working with an experienced server. It's easy. And it's a way to serve the community, our family, without being in front of everyone. I'm not a speaker. And it's a way to serve behind the scenes, which it's what I do, what I prefer to do. That's about all I have to say, except that we would welcome any help. Setting the Lord's table is a privilege and an honor. Yes, Joyce?
Yeah, do you place the flowers and so forth in the church? Or?
There's a flower chart that people sign up for. I am the one who sends reminders to the people who signed up to bring the flowers, but they usually bring them and put them up.
In the sanctuary?
Yes.
Don't you also put the white or red roses on the altar?
We do that. We also decorate the Easter cross and the Christmas tree. Those are very beautiful and fun things, and I think the whole congregation really appreciates all of that. I know I've often seen families taking their pictures in front of both of those. So join us.
Thank you, Joanne. John Nelson, Chair of Building and Property. Why don't you come on up? Tell them what you do. Tell them what you need. Make it happen, Captain.
I'd like to have a new Mercedes-Benz, but I don't think that's quite what you're looking for.
Oh, Lord, can you buy me?
So, as Dan said, I'm John Nelson, Chair of the Building and Property Committee. Our committee also makes music, but it's usually with a hammer or a weed eater, or sometimes you can hear the sound with a paintbrush. That was my humor there, by the way.
It was fine, John.
It was fine? Okay. Yeah. Our committee is responsible for the planning and implementation of all the maintenance and construction activities affecting the facilities and equipment of the congregation. Our goal is to provide a safe and welcoming place for our congregation and for outside user groups. So I'm extremely lucky to have a great committee. I'm probably the least skilled person on our committee. As I've said, I barely know which end of the hammer to hold. But so the members of our committee, besides myself, are Kurt Letterman, who's our facilities manager, Kit Bowerman, who's our council liaison, Hal Ferris, Gary Rudolph, and Ron Ryan. And then I want to mention that this year we lost two of our members, John Gowdy, who was a longtime committee member, and then, more recently, Dick Swaysgood, who was in the past was our council liaison, and they both contributed a lot to our committee over the years. So our committee meets yes, sir.
Are women allowed on the committee?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I know. It's in the past we did have Carla Smith was on our committee for a while, and she used to come in about once a week and look for tasks to do. So yes, women are welcome. Yes. Yes. So we meet on the fourth Tuesday of the month online on Zoom, and we can always use some new members. We encourage that. So if you want to check us out, contact myself or Kurt, and I'm sure we can get you linked up on the Zoom when we meet and see how we operate. So, and I must also mention that we're extremely lucky to have Kurt as our facilities manager. He's our IT guy. He oversees everything from the fire sprinkler system, the testing, to all the services that we have here. So we're really fortunate to have him, because a lot of churches, congregations on the east side don't have the luxury of having a facilities manager to keep everything running smoothly. So what are some of the things we do? Well, one of the main things, like Sharon mentioned, is we work with her committee. We coordinate with some of the other committees. So, like for example, Doug Johnson had gotten a grant from the Synod to remodel the nursery space over there, and so we worked with Doug on the remodel, on converting it to a family resource center. So from what I understand, that's just about finished. We've had several work parties. We removed a bunch of stuff on the walls, painted, and are the toilets and stuff now in? And the toilets are now in, replaced the little toilets that were there. And so I think it's pretty close to being ready for, I guess you could call it occupancy by families or just outside user groups who want a place to meet. One of the other things is we've worked with the hosting group for Congregation for the homeless, now called Porch Light. This requires coordination, such as, there's the 2 trailers out here on that parking lot. Had to make sure that area was clear for them. The one over in the small parking lot had to be set up so they, for power, they've got a washer and dryer there for the men to wash their clothes, and then there's a long drain hose for removing the gray water. So Kurt's usually, responsible for getting that all set up and make sure everything's running smoothly. Let's see. So one of the 2 things we have in the spring and the fall are our all-church work parties. Kurt, keeps a list of all the different tasks that need to be done at our church, and so it's a good time for when people come volunteer to help us get some of those tasks completed and have some good fellowship. At our spring work party this year, besides volunteers from the congregations, there was groups from the Girl Scouts and the Cub Scouts that came, so I know they need to have volunteer activities, and so the Girl Scouts provided planted flowers in 3 different areas, and so we got our grounds looking really good. We were extremely lucky to have the landscape contracting service included in the church budget this year. The 2 prior years, just to save money, it was not provided, so we relied on work parties to get a lot of the grounds kept up. But it's really nice to have that landscape service this year, just for so we know the grounds are looking good. So one of the other things, we had our fall work party yesterday, and one of the things I learned was about, which I'd kind of forgotten about, was we've got the emergency shed out there. Well, Kurt had us, there was Matthew, Wetmore, and myself, we needed to replace the water. We've got 5-gallon containers out there in case of a catastrophe that would be available. So we ended up emptying, there were 7 of them, the 5-gallon containers, and then replacing it with new fresh water, and added preservative drops, so that'll provide water to be fresh for up to 7 years. So it's hopefully something we wouldn't need, but it's good to know that it's there. So our committee is also responsible for administering the memorial garden, keeping the area clean, and one of the things that when somebody passes away and there's going to be a committal, you need to get the slab engraved with their names on it. So that goes out and then comes back, and so our committee is also responsible for assisting with the committal process itself. Another thing we do, our grounds have been used for Eagle Scout projects, and several of them over the years. In fact, there's going to be one here on our grounds this fall that'll be completed. Okay, so for the future, there's 2 major items coming up. We have some major maintenance items that will need to be addressed. I don't know if you've noticed, but the water fountain out by the sanctuary, there's hardly any water that comes out. There's just not enough water pressure for the drinking fountain and the restrooms there. So we're looking at getting, Kurt got estimates of what would cost to replace that. The galvanized piping underneath that'd be a pretty big project. That'll be about, I think it was the estimate you got was $9,800. But we also have some other things, such as the soffits by some of the gutters appear to be rotting. So we're looking to get estimates on several of these kind of major maintenance items and then kind of bundle them together and take that to church council just to kind of determine how we're going to fund those kind of expenses. So hopefully to have that sometime in the fall. The other thing is at the semi-annual meeting this year, we began a discussion about the potential for development of an affordable housing project on our property over by just east of the main parking lot. And this has come about because the city of Bellevue is approving a zoning change to allow development of affordable housing on faith-based properties. And I think there's 31 to 34 faith-based properties in Bellevue that would qualify for this. So St. Andrews is looking to be a leader in the process of this opportunity to provide affordable housing for those in need on the east side. We've asked Imagine Housing, who we have a long history with, to begin looking into the possibility of this development. So over the next several months, maybe you'll probably start to see maybe some concept drawings and maybe some models of what this might look like. In November, on the 12th, on the Discipleship Hour, someone from Imagine Housing will come to speak about that. So it's just the very beginning of this process. There's no commitment on St. Andrew's part at this point to develop the affordable housing. But at some point, if it does proceed, our congregation will need to vote on that process. So, and any potential construction probably wouldn't start for another 2.5 years. So that's all I have to say. Any questions? No?
So John, Kurt kind of hinted at this issue, but I know you guys are well staffed with a lot of people who have a lot of expertise in property and development and management and all that. But I've heard it said, both when we connected in the spring and in other comments since, that your need for volunteers or membership is a little different than possibly some other groups. Is that true? Do you want to talk about the diversity aspect of your group?
As far as diversity, gender-wise?
Gender-wise, what I remember being told is we have a lot of good people on our committee, but we're a bunch of old white guys and we don't feel we represent the congregation.
Yes, okay.
The membership of the
Right.
congregation.
Ideally, we would like to have some younger members.
Good looking.
Good, yeah, oh, I forgot that. Yeah, thank you, yeah. No, ideally, we would like to have some younger members on our committee of either gender. And so, yeah, it's, all of us are aging, and so it would be just especially for the continuation of our committee, because at some point, you know, I've been chair for like 5 to 6 years, and so sometime I want to be able to pass the baton on, so it'd be nice, so.
And thank you for your long.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, thank
That's
you.
it.
Any questions before John walks away? He's walking down. He's walking down. Quick. All right. Well, thank you, John. Sharon has left. Joanne, thank you. And as I said earlier, Kit Bowerman, who chairs our adult education hour subgroup, is also, if I didn't mention it, he's the more recent volunteer to chair stewardship. So again, this and future conversations where we invite committees to come in and talk about what they do what their needs are, and kind of keep us updated on what those ministries are all about. We'll continue, not every week, but interspersed as we go forward. And so in a stewardship vein, this is all about kind of working that engagement kind of priority. So if, you know, one of the challenges of the adult ed forum is, you know, we appreciate all of you being here, and yet they haven't been as well attended over the recent past. Notwithstanding, we have some folks that will pick this up on video. But so what we ask is that, you know, as you learn of needs, for example, and opportunities for engagement in these sessions, if you think of other people and in your circles as you engage with others, you know, pass along what you've heard and what you've learned about where volunteerism and support for ministries vis-a-vis these committees could use the help of others. So be ambassadors for what you hear here, I guess is my point. So anyway, thank you all for being here.
Thank you.